The logical fallacy for today is the loaded question. Asking a question that has an assumption built into it so that it can't be answered without appearing guilty. The classic example of this would be, when did you stop beating your wife? See, that's a loaded question, because loaded into the question is the assumption that you did at one point beat your wife. And so if you answer it with any sort of a date, then you're admitting to the guilt. The way to deal with a loaded question is to not engage, to laugh at it, to point out, well, that's a loaded question. Let's go ahead and get back to the facts. Loaded questions are underhanded, dirty tricks in argumentation. Please, dear listeners, if you listen to my show, avoid using them. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to Reasoned Refrain, where it is my goal for you to know what you believe and why you believe it, and to preach the gospel of resurrection by grace alone, through faith alone, over and over again. I am your host, Stephen Curto. Please feel free to talk back to the show by emailing Stephen@reasonedrefrain.com. That's Stephen, Stephen, the correct spelling, at reasonedrefrain.com. Drink of the day is a classic Negroni, which is a gin cocktail made with Campari and vermouth. I think I have had this on the show before. I think I mispronounced it back when I did. And I remember, I think I used the wrong kind of vermouth, and I did not particularly enjoy it. My cocktail making skills have improved since then, and actually, I kind of enjoy this particular Campari gin cocktail. It's a little bit sweeter when you use the correct vermouth than, say, what's the Manhattan, right? A little bit sweeter than that, but it's got that same, vermouth undertone that a Manhattan has. So if you're interested, I'd suggest trying one. Make sure you get the correct kind of vermouth. We're going to go ahead and get started with our meat segment for the day.
The meat segment.
When we eat something's flesh, I want meat!
Meat segment today is kind of paired up with Twitface. So you know what? Let's go ahead and, just because I love the Twitface bump, we'll go ahead and play the Twitface bump in the meat segment.
And it looks as though we're in for a splendid afternoon sport on this, the 127th Upper Class Twit of the Year show. And there's a big crowd here today to see these prize idiots in action.
There's this promo, this ad that came across my Facebook newsfeed for a church in the area that obviously paid for a Facebook ad to have the pastor speak into camera and try and convince nominal Christians or non-Christians to come to his church on Christmas Day. As you probably know, Christmas is pretty much the number one day of the year that people will attend a church, even if they are not really Christians, even if they don't actually believe the gospel, but they're like, well, I'm American and I have this vaguely Christian culture, so I should probably, go to church on Christmas, because Christmas is inextricably linked with Christ. I mean, the word literally is in the name. And so a lot of churches do this. They know that they're going to have guests in their church on Christmas Day, and I get planning around that, right? The way you should plan around it is you should have a very clear gospel message. You should preach on the birth of Christ, and you should preach on the fact that the reason he came was to ultimately die for the sins of the world, to live a perfect life, die the death that we deserve in place of us, and then resurrect on the third day, thus being a down payment, a foreshadowing of the resurrection of those who would believe in him. That's what you should preach on. And instead, lots of churches do lots of all kinds of different things. And this ad, I don't know the guy, I don't know the church. I don't want to come down too hard on them, but this particular ad just encapsulates everything that I hate about seeker-sensitive Christian culture, even down to the tone of voice that the guy is using. And so you can listen to this. The only shot is this guy talking into camera. Listen to what he says. We're gonna play it and pause and talk about some of the things that he says. Listen for the gospel message anywhere in here, okay?
Hey, yo, my name is Seth Kunze, and I'm the pastor of The Dwelling, a church that's right here in the Porter, New Caney, Kingwood area. And if you need a place to celebrate Christmas Eve this year, we want to invite you out because we would love to celebrate Christmas Eve with you. Our church, The Dwelling, is a church where you can come as you are. And we're actually going to be providing some cookies and hot chocolate and singing some Christmas songs. And we're actually going to end our service with Silent Night by candlelight. And it's going to be absolutely epic. We're going to be meeting at the address located right here up above, or you can check out our live stream. Either way, we want to celebrate Christmas Eve with you this year.
That's The Dwelling. Like I said, even down to the tone of voice, it's the really excited pastor who is going to actually say a couple of thousand times actually throughout, and he's going to sound really excited about cookies and getting together with friends. And what about getting excited about the gospel? What about getting excited about resurrection after death? Why not get excited about that? This guy, we're playing again, and we'll just pause and so the tone itself just rubbed me the wrong way. This is a perfect prime example of what you should not have going on in your church. We'll play it again and I'll pause.
Hey, yo, my name is Seth Kunze, and I'm the pastor of The Dwelling, a church that's right here in the Porter, New Caney, Kingwood area. And if you need a place to celebrate Christmas Eve this year, we want to invite you out because we would love to celebrate Christmas Eve with you.
We would love to celebrate Christmas Eve with you. Okay, what does celebrating Christmas Eve mean? What should you be doing? Maybe thinking about the expectation of Christ being born the next day, remembering even the sacrifice of Christ, or remembering the joy of the birth of Christ. Maybe you want to talk about, I don't know, the three kings who are coming and the different gifts that the kings are bringing, right? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, each one having a different sort of necessary symbolic purpose related to him. Gold being the king, frankincense being the incense, meaning God, right? And myrrh being the death that you would expect from him. Myrrh would be a thing that you would use in the embalming process. Okay, any of that stuff would be great. That would be how we celebrate Christmas Eve. Educating people who come in through your doors. I mean, maybe you've heard, you can get really excited and say, maybe you've heard about these sorts of things. Maybe you've heard about the three kings. Maybe you've heard about Jesus. Maybe you've heard what he did. Let's talk about it and get excited about that. Let's see what he gets excited about.
Our church, The Dwelling, is a church where you can come as you are.
Anytime you hear that phrase, at least perk up your ears. It's not inherently bad to have a church that says come as you are. If it's a church where you can stay as you are, that's inherently bad. Church is meant to change you. I think I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Non-Christians, the unrepentant sinner, right? A sinner who has yet to bow the knee to Christ and recognize his own sinful state. A sinner, an unrepentant sinner, should not feel comfortable at church, should not feel safe at church, should not enter a church service and feel as though it is any other place. A worship service of the triune God should be a place where the unrepentant sinner trembles with great fear, where ideally where an immediate recognition of the awe-inspiring judgment of God and wrath of God on sin is felt. And the call of grace and forgiveness goes out and then envelops the unrepentant sinner to the point that the unrepentant sinner repents. A visitor, an unrepentant sinner who visits your church should never want to come back until he has repented. That should be how you feel going into a church service. That if you do not have the righteousness of Christ clothing you, you should tremble with great fear. It should not be a safe place. It should come as you are, meaning come as a sinner, come as someone who lives according to the way of the world, come as a person who does not know God, or who knows him but suppresses that truth in unrighteousness. Yeah, if you show up, come as you are, definitely, right? Don't put on any pretenses, come as you are, and then repent. I get the vibe, the sense that this is a church where you can come as you are pretty much as long as you want, and you're never going to feel the need to ask God for forgiveness for anything. But keep listening.
We're actually going to be providing some cookies and hot chocolate and singing some Christmas songs, and we're actually going to end our service with Silent Night by candlelight, and it's going to be absolutely epic.
It's going to be absolutely, you know what word is coming out of his mouth next. You just know. You don't have to hear it. It took 31 seconds to accurately predict this man's sentences. As soon as you hear, we're actually going to be having cookies and hot chocolate, and then we're going to actually sing some Christmas songs.
Cookies and hot chocolate and singing some Christmas songs, and we're actually going to end our service with Silent Night by candlelight. And
Silent Night by candlelight. That sounds great. I mean, Silent Night is a great song. We're going to talk about it in the hymn hype segment today. Yeah, okay. Eating cookies and hot chocolate. That sounds good too. Like, why not? Like, I think that the church should be eating together. Cookies and hot chocolate are great things to eat. That's your main appeal, though? That's your main draw to get somebody in the door is cookies and hot chocolate and singing songs by candlelight? And then you're going to describe this particular experience as...
It's going to be absolutely epic.
You know what's absolutely epic? God regenerating a dead person, bringing him back to life, resurrecting him on a new earth. That is absolutely epic. Yeah, you know what's absolutely epic is singing praises to a God who is so incredibly powerful and the just judge of all humanity, who should wipe us off the face of the earth with every single breath that we take, and yet he extends mercy to those who ask it of him. Those who believe will be saved. That is absolutely epic. You know what's not accurately called absolutely epic? Eating cookies and drinking hot chocolate and singing Silent Night. Wonderful thing, fun thing, good thing to do, something that Christians should do together. Does not deserve the description absolutely epic.
We're going to be meeting at the address located right here up above, or you can check out our live stream. Either way, we want to celebrate Christmas Eve.
The icing on the cake. You don't actually have to come. You can watch us eat cookies and drink hot chocolate, because that's what you can just watch the live stream. That's the same thing. That's joining us. That's celebrating with you, is watching us live stream, singing some songs. Oh, Lord.
With you this year.
Yeah. I just now, as the video was playing, thought, you know what, let's look up this place and see what their doctrinal statement looks like. Just curious. Start here. What we believe. The story of God, the story of the world, the story of you. I have never read this before. I'm reading it right now for the first time on the story of you. 3 sentences in, or 3 sentence fragments in, and we've already got it centered on you. Let's see. We believe that this whole story of creation, everything from angels to atoms, ATOMS, to Adam. Oh, great wordplay there. got started by the triune God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Though he created everything good and perfect, humankind rebelled against him. Okay, good. As a result, all human beings are born in rebellion against God. Good, a rebellion so complete that we are incapable of making things right again. Okay, yeah. For this reason, God sent his Son to be born in the midst of our rebellion, yet not join in it. This God-man, Jesus of Nazareth, lived in perfect obedience and love for his Father so that he might be the firstborn of a new humanity that was no longer in rebellion with its Creator. We are born into this new humanity when we are born again by water and the Spirit of Jesus given freely to all. Okay, I'll explain why. Not a terrible paragraph doctrinally speaking. I always find it frustrating. It's like we've had language that's been decided on for 2,000 years. Please just use the language that we know, so that we don't have to parse through things, but so that we might be the firstborn of a new humanity. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by a new humanity? Are we talking Mormonism? Are we talking living in different bodies and becoming gods ourselves and getting our own planets? Are we talking spiritual rebirth? Are we talking new humanity like a new car? Like second paragraph. This is the full. Let's see if there's anything else of a fuller doctrinal statement. I do not see one. So there's two paragraphs, the one I just read and this one. As part of this new humanity, we still struggle with rebellion and our old humanity until Jesus returns again. When he does come, he will restore all of creation to perfection, where God dwells with his people for all eternity. This is why we look forward to his return with expectant joy, even as we face today's trials, suffering, and brokenness, which are the product of our rebellion. In the meantime, Jesus promises to be with us. He continues to speak to us. Jesus continues to speak to us how? Maybe if you had a statement here about bibliology, about what the Holy Scriptures are. He continues to speak to us, leading and guiding through his church and his word. And he tells us to share with people everywhere the good news of all he has done and has yet to do. Not actually really good example of nothing really wrong here. Right? Everything you said could be understood in a way that is completely orthodox and reasonable and right. You're missing a whole lot that you should have in a doctrinal statement. If you're going to summarize what you believe, see if there's anything where you can get more. Emails and updates, serve on a team, give, events, media. Whole section on media. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 links on media. Who we are. The dwelling is a church where you can come as you are, and it doesn't really matter how you define that. Clothes you wear, tattoos, ethnicity, beliefs, no beliefs. Maybe you have questions about faith, church, or God, whatever it might be. We believe you don't have to look a certain way or have everything figured out for God to still want to show up and do something in your life. There's a very real God who wants to meet each of us right where we are, dwell in our midst, and help us with our greatest needs. What need is that? Feel free to drop your contact info. I'm going to read through this again and see if there's actually ever a clear statement of the gospel that those who believe might be saved. They might have missed that. For this reason, God sent his Son to be born in the midst of our rebellion, yet not join in it. This God-man, Jesus of Nazareth, lived with perfect obedience and love of his Father, that he might be the firstborn of a new humanity that will no longer in rebellion with its Creator. We are born into this new humanity when we are born again by water and the Spirit of Jesus given freely to all. Great. How do I do that? How might I be born again into this new humanity? Are you saying I have to be baptized? Are you saying that the Spirit of Jesus is freely given to me already, and so I don't have, there's nothing, right? The actual phrase believe isn't in here. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and you shall be saved. This is why we look forward to his return with expectant joy. In the meantime, Jesus promises to be with us, speak as guide. And this is the problem with statements like this. If you go look at my doctrinal statement on mygiveonthings.com, scroll all the way down and look to the more expansive, what's the actual link say? The Stevens extended doctrinal statement. I start with a narrative, right? I think it makes sense to start with a narrative. The Bible is one big story. The fact that this thing is written in paragraph form doesn't bother me. The fact that it's written in paragraph form alone is what bothers me, without any sort of attention to detail and without a clear statement of the gospel. We use the word good news. What good news is that? That by grace through faith you may be saved. Yeah. What Christmas is about is not joining the dwelling in eating cookies and hot chocolate and actually singing an epic Silent Night by candlelight. It's about Jesus. Crazy, right? Crazy, right? It's about the incarnation of the triune God. That Jesus is God in flesh, the third person of the Trinity, the second person of the Trinity. The longer you talk about the Trinity, the second person of the Trinity, taking on flesh, dwelling among us, having in himself both fully man, being both fully man and fully divine, and living the perfect life, dying in our place, that we might be saved by grace alone through faith alone. We might be resurrected on a new earth as a result of his actions. The incarnation is central to Christianity. The virgin birth, pretty essential to Christianity. This is one of those good examples of doctrines that are really, really, really important. I go back and forth on whether or not you need to affirm this to be a Christian, because the systematic theology, the theological conclusion that's reached is really important. But so, is it entirely necessary to believe in a virgin birth to be a Christian? I kind of think yes. Now, is it possible to believe that Jesus is fully God, fully man, lived a sinless life, died, rose again on the third day, that by his works and resurrection we too might be resurrected on a new earth by grace alone through faith alone, and to believe that he was born not of a virgin but of a man and a woman, and maybe, but there's something that gets set up pretty early in the story that makes me doubt that. Right? Genesis 3:15, the proto-evangelium, first gospel. I talk about it all the time. God talking to the serpent says, "You shall have enmity with the woman. There shall be enmity between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." And it's this seed of the woman that we are searching for, who will right this wrong and reverse the curse that has been placed on humanity and usher us back into the garden where the tree of life waits. And what does it mean for it to be the seed of the woman? Right? What does the seed of the woman mean? Well, Adam's seed, the story picks up in Genesis 4 and 5, is the seed of sin, right? He's passing the sin nature on down through humanity, through time. He is going from one to the next, and if you read Genesis 5, it's this this constant repetition of then he died, and then he died, and then he died, and then he died, and then he died. And these are all of the descendants of Adam. And I think, and I'm going completely by memory, I think it's 5:1, 5:2, somewhere in there. It says, this is the genealogy of Adam, and in the day that God made Adam in his image and likeness. And then it says, and Adam begot sons in his image and likeness, suggesting that there's a slightly different image that's getting passed down by Adam, right? And so we're following this lineage from Adam and Eve, but we're looking for the seed of the woman, right? And so we logically conclude, okay, well, we're looking for somebody from this lineage, and everybody keeps coming up short. Everybody keeps failing. We get to Noah, and we're like, hey, is this the guy, the seed of the woman, descendant from Eve? Well, he gets off of the ark and kind of proves that he's not the guy who's going to be perfect and fix this whole problem. Who's gonna succeed where Adam failed and not sin? Okay, so it's not Noah. Is it going to be Moses? Is it going to be Abraham? Is it going to be David? Is it going to be Caleb? Is it going to be Daniel? None of these guys seem to ever fit the bill, and the Old Testament closes still having not found this guy, this person. And then Matthew picks up of this is the genealogy of the Christ, the son of Abraham, the son of David, and we see this kind of expectation, this is the guy, and intrinsic to that is the fact that he is born not from Adam, right? He's born from Adam, but his lineage is he is conceived without the male seed. He is conceived only with the female seed and the Spirit of God. And I think that this goes all the way back to that promise, that the seed of the woman is a reference to the virgin birth. Right? That the only portion, that the way that this conception happened was without sperm. I kind of think that it's intrinsic. Kind of think that it's important. Do you have to affirm it? I don't know. I lean towards yes. It's such a fundamental Christian doctrine. It's one that's in the creeds, in the Apostles' Creed. I'm pretty sure it says, born of a Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, crucified and dead and buried. And so kind of think, yeah, you need to believe that this was a virgin conception. Okay. I've been rambling for a little while on the incarnation. I think that the incarnation is important. I think that's what we're supposed to be focusing on at Christmas. We're supposed to be thinking about these kinds of things. We're supposed to be thinking about the wonderful, marvelous plan of God down through the ages as he worked his will through sinful humanity to bring about perfection in flesh, that he would die and be raised again. We need the gospel. We're looking forward to the cross when we are born in the manger. Anyway, I will go ahead and leave it there. We'll move on to 3 favorite news stories. That's actually just 1 favorite news story because we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. So here's 3, hear it as 1 favorite news stories from the last week.
It's my 3 favorite news stories from the last week.
The only one I really want to talk about is this one, reading from the Daily Wire. Orwell's 1984 to get a feminist rewrite. In an ironic twist to beat all ironic twists, 1984, George Orwell's dystopian sci-fi tale that warns of the dangers of revising history and rewriting books for ideological ends is itself getting a feminist rewrite. With approval from the Orwell estate, it will be retold from a woman's perspective. As first reported in The Guardian, the new narrative will be told from the point of view of Julia, the love interest in Orwell's of Orwell's main character, Winston Smith, who in the 1949 novel works in the Ministry of Truth, rewriting history to suit the authoritarian government's propaganda purposes. How unself-aware do you have to be to write this? To go ahead and say, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. We're gonna rewrite 1984 from Julia's eyes. If you don't know the story, right? It starts out with Winston, and it just spends like 4 or 5 chapters laying out this world, and he sees this girl who is, by all accounts, appears to be just part of the party, right? A party line gal, totally sold out to Big Brother, who's the authoritarian figurehead in this world. But he is drawn to her in a sort of primal, lustful way and wants to be with her, and then he steals away with her and sleeps with her, and they have various rendezvous. It turns out she's not sold out to Big Brother. Even she doesn't believe in this ideology, and then they both get captured. And then you have the great chapter where Winston learns to love Big Brother. We'll put it that way. You should definitely read the book if you haven't. It's one of my favorite books. If you like dystopian novels at all, it is the cornerstone dystopian novel, and it is unfortunately a handbook for today's progressive left. So yeah, I'm curious. I probably will read this just to have a laugh. But how ironic can you get? That's really the thing that came to mind for me. How ironic can you get if Orwell is getting a rewrite? It's going to be corrected from the female point of view. Anyway, we're going to. I would really appreciate if you'd share the show. Think of a couple friends right now in your contacts list. Think maybe they would like to hear about this. Maybe they'd like to hear Stephen do a bad impression of some pastor over in Porter, Texas, and bash on him for half an hour. That sounds like a good idea. Or maybe you'd like to learn a little bit about the incarnation, or think about some worldview things with me. Go through your contact list right now. Share the show. All right. Text them. Hey, look up podcast Reasoned Refrain. Send them a link. Go back to that archaic form of communication known as email, or maybe share on social media and go and like the page. And I would appreciate it if I were able to grow this thing and have a little bit more of a following. I could do more podcasts. As it is, you're stuck with the scraps because you're not doing enough. I'm doing my part. I'm not really doing my part. I'm falling down on the job regularly. So I'm kind of doing my part. You need to really do your part and share the show. Spread the word. Like and subscribe and do all of the stuff. That said, had an idea for a new segment that I'd like to introduce to you all. I'm calling it a book by its cover. Basically, every once in a while I notice a book that's coming out and the title tells me about all I need to know. And so we're just going to think through this. What spurred this particular segment was actually a conference ad that I received. But we'll start by introducing the segment. So this is a book by its cover.
Don't cover the judge by. Don't judge the cover, judge the book. Man, don't book the cover. Book. Don't whatever. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to judge a book by its cover. The Climb Conference is the thing that the Climb Leadership Conference of 2022. I get ads for this sort of thing all the time. Leadership conferences in general make my skin crawl. And Christian leadership conferences usually do as well. This particular conference is... And it's got some interesting characters. What I want to do is, so normally we'll be reviewing a book. In this case, we're just going to be reviewing a conference by its cover. We're going to look at the daily schedule. We're going to see how far we get into this before we notice major red flags theologically. Okay, so this is the Klein Conference 2022. I'm just on like their main ad page where they show the speaker lineup and tell you what's going to be happening. Okay, so got Conway Edwards, Brian Loritz, J.D. Greer. I used to love J.D. Greer, and he just went further and further down in my estimations. Eric Mason, there's a red flag, author of Woke Church, is speaking in very, very direct, clear terms. Eric Mason is a racist. He believes that we can and should segregate people based on skin color and treat them differently based on the color of their skin. That's what he believes. Now, it's got a very well-intentioned Christian-y spin to it, but that's what he believes. That's racist. I just tend to not like listening to racists. Hey, we'll go ahead and look at the schedule. Leadership, so breakout sessions. Okay, senior leaders. Interesting. Reality check. What is your church? Adapt or die. That's one of the breakout session titles. Man. Adapt or die. On the subject of churches, the local church, how it should treat its own existence. Carelessly. I think that's how it should treat its own existence. Should the Christian church adapt? Really, really depends on what you mean by that. Like, so entirely depends on what you mean by adapt. The Christian church has survived for 2,000 years primarily because it contains the core truth necessary for human flourishing and life. That we can be saved by grace alone, through faith alone, not by works of the law. That God sent his Son to die for us. Should we be adapting that? Should we be adjusting that message to so that we don't fall on deaf ears? Usually, I'm going to make a broad generality here, about 90% of the people who talk about adapting the Christian church are going to do so by eliminating the core things that make Christianity Christianity. They're usually going to talk about prioritizing the church, and they're usually prioritizing the culture, and they're usually going to end up scratching itching ears. Yeah. Okay, more of the breakout session. So that's from the senior leaders, the ministry directors, leading post-COVID volunteers, work-life balance, why people stop coming to your group, 5 shifts every family must make. Okay, I don't know anything from those titles, so we won't comment. Digital focus is one of the breakout sessions? Is that? Oh, man. Every day, every breakout session has a group of sessions that are, quote, digital focus. How we're going to do church online. Here's a simple answer to that. You can't. You can't do church online. You just can't. The word literally means gather. You have to actually physically go to where the other believers are who are worshiping the triune God to have church. This is what makes the gathering so important. This is why sacrificing the gathering is such a... And we're going to have 3 different sections of breakout sessions to teach you how to have, quote, church online. Digital focus, social media, brand and content strategy. Yeah, that's right. Altar, spelled ALTAR, live TV. Right? Church online, because we gotta make sure that people can gather by not gathering. Make it as convenient and easy as possible. That's what Christianity has always been about. It's never demanded anything of you. It's never been a sacrifice to follow God. It's not like one of the main things that Jesus talks about is suffering, and it's not like he charges his disciples, pick up your cross and follow me. It's not like he says, I come not to bring peace but a sword, and turn mother against daughter and father against son. And it's not like it's not like Christianity means anything. It's just something you do, It's it's a YouTube video that you check in on, right? You like and subscribe to the church. Frustration-free weekend experiences. Breakout sessions 3. No, I skipped down. Breakout sessions 2. Re-engaging church. 6 P's of innovation. If only they tell you what the 6 P's are now. Help, I'm struggling and I can't tell anyone. Okay, that's actually useful. Why can't you tell anyone? Why does your church have a culture of silence where sins cannot be discussed or confessed? Hopefully, you're getting some kind of truth in there saying, the answer is confession. Life-giving volunteers, how dysfunctional is your team, how to create lasting groups, equipping parents to create traditions, social media brand and content strategy. Oh, I've already read that one. Digital engagement pathway, how to make the online experience better than in person. Oh, my. It physically hurts me. A breakout session on how to make the online experience better than in person. Again, 2 words. You can't. And you shouldn't. 4 words. How to keep your brand relevant using social media. When keep your brand relevant, speak on the fact that all are sinners, destined for hell. Everyone knows that. Romans is one of the most eminently applicable and understandable books in the universe. And it was written 2,000 years ago. It is so stinking relevant. Every man knows the truth and suppresses it in unrighteousness. Because what has been known about God has been plainly revealed since creation. But they exchange that worship of God for creaturely things. Just read the Bible. That's how you stay relevant. I need to calm down, stop being so flippant. Give it a chance. Maybe this segment's a bad idea. Empowering people, the key to growth. Connecting influencers and ideas for community transformation. Models and practices and spiritual formation. Okay, again, the third one is decent at least. Spiritual formation and how do we actually practically do that? Okay, yeah, you could probably talk about that. Ministry directors. What is your rallying cry? What are you building people around? Oh, okay, that could be really great or really bad. That could be just a 30 minutes of vision casting garbage. Or it could be the gospel. Your genius and your team. Are you becoming the leader your team needs? Influencing the faith of the next generation. Digital focus. Hybrid church. 5 multimodal experiences. And fixing guest retention. Oh, Lord. I'm done. We're just going to move on from this segment. This is a bad idea for a segment. We'll try this again some other time. I'm moving on to COVID Minute.
In a COVID minute, everything can change. In a COVID minute, things can get a little strange. In a COVID minute.
Oh, you're really going to want to share the show after you hear this one. The outgoing head of the National Institute of Health decided to say so long in a way that is so entirely fitting for the National Institute of Health. I'm just gonna play it. This is how Francis Collins, the outgoing head of the National Institute of Health, right, someone who should be taken seriously, so they say, decided to say goodbye to his position as he steps into retirement. Here we go.
Somewhere past the pandemic, when we're free, there's a life I remember full of activity. Somewhere past the pandemic, masks will come off.
Oh, it hurts so bad. Oh. 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 Breathe. Breathe. Okay. Okay, we can do this. We can make it through this. We can listen.
No more need for a nose swab every time we cough. As we are gathered here today.
He's gonna, past the pandemic, there will be no more need for Kleenex.
COVID's toll has hit and sent us reeling. But partners like the ones right here will help to make the pathway clear to find a true healing. Somewhere past the pandemic, life will resume.
Oh, the rhyme scheme hurts so bad. Oh, plan your syllables, man. If you're gonna do this, it's gotta be good. Or it's gotta be so bad, right? You can tell that he really wanted this to be like a good rewrite, a good spoof. He's wearing a suit and tie as he sings this on national television as his going out address.
We'll all complain about the traffic, forgetting how we hated Zoom.
I can't keep listening to this. Like I've been saying for about a year and a half now, peak stupid, much like peak oil, does not exist. I keep telling myself that truth, that peak stupid, much like peak oil, does not exist, and I keep getting surprised that peak stupid just does not exist. It keeps upping the ante every single day. Oh. Additionally, in COVID Minute, we have our beloved El Presidente letting you know that it's going to be cold this winter. Sub-zero. Only if you're unvaxxed.
Folks, I'm not going to take questions today because I have a direct message to the American people. And tomorrow the team is going to be on television and talking in more detail about what I'm going to be speaking about today. But I want to send a direct message to the American people. Due to the steps we've taken, Omicron has not yet spread as fast as it would have otherwise done, and that's happening in Europe. But it's here now, and it's spreading, and it's going to increase. For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death for unvaccinated.
Make sure we repeat that. For the unvaccinated, we're looking at a winter of severe illness and death. All right, sounds good. Check. I'm okay. I'll sign up for it. Will you stop talking now?
For themselves, their families, and the hospitals they'll soon overwhelm.
One real quick question. How is this the severe illness and death for anyone other than the people who are refusing the vaccine? If you are freely choosing not to get the vaccine, you are making your own risk assessment. And the only person who gets harmed by that from that is you. That's it. There you go. Problem solved. Each person gets to make their own decisions for their own health. And then hospitals deal with sick people, kind of like what they're designed for, whether they're vaccinated or not.
But there's good news. If you're vaccinated, you have your booster shot, you're protected from severe illness and death. Period. Number 2.
I love when he says period, as if that makes it true. Yeah, Omicron is spreading. It's spreading a lot, right? There are a lot of people with COVID. It's far less deadly so far. All of the early data show that Omicron is nowhere near as deadly, or even as prolonged, has anywhere near the negative effects of any previous variant of COVID. And also, the vaccinated are getting it at the same rate. Now they are having a decreased severe illness and death, as has been the case. And I've been saying repeatedly, if you want to get vaccinated, you should. You should weigh the risks and the benefits yourself. If you're in one of those high-risk categories of COVID, where COVID is really dangerous for you, or it's going to be more than a cough, or it's going to be, potentially being hospitalized for any number of legitimate reasons. If you're over the age of 60, if you have diabetes, if you're severely overweight, if you have other respiratory or health issues that compound the issue, yeah, probably getting vaccinated is the right call for you. The benefits of being vaccinated outweigh the risks. The risks are the unknowns. We simply do not have longitudinal data on the effects of this virus, on this vaccine, on the people who get vaccinated. We don't know what it's going to do to everybody. We don't know the side effects. We don't have the long list of things that could happen as a result of being vaccinated. And so if the unknowns are weigh heavily enough and outweigh the risks of the virus, then you should not get vaccinated. And that's the category I'm in. I'm pretty young. I'm pretty healthy. I don't have any of the common comorbidities, and the potential risks of getting vaccinated are greater. I'll tell you the other thing that really makes me not want to get vaccinated. You telling me I have to. Because guess what, government? All you got is a gun. Government is just a gun. There is no carrot. There is only stick. That's what government is designed to be. That's the point of government. It is there to punish evildoers. 2 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2. The purpose of government is to punish evildoers and praise the good. Not compel the good, to praise the good. To say, hey, that's good. And then to punish evildoers. It is a big gun. It bears the sword, as it says in Romans 13. It is there to punish you. That is all it can do. And that's good. It's supposed to do that. That's a job that we need in society. We need someone who will bear the sword. When man sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. This is the Noahic covenant. Right? Human government was instituted by God, and it should do its job. Its job is to punish. Its job is not to provide services. Its job is not to give carrots, because it has none. It has only guns. That is all government can do. Since we're on the subject of Mr. Biden, let's go ahead and take a quick jaunt through Old Man Joe.
And I see like an old man.
The big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Please open his mouth.
Old Man Joe, what you gonna tell me? Old Man Joe, what you gonna say?
Turns out what he's going to say isn't actually a word. What you're about to hear is a series of clips, some of which go back to his days as a senator in like the early 90s. And by 90s, I mean 1890s. I'll just play it. See if you can spot what's being highlighted.
Exponentially. 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 Exponential. Exponentially. 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 Exponential. Exponentially. 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 I mean exponentially.
That's what he means.
I'm not going to take questions.
He means exponentially. Oh, I'll leave it there. This has been Old Man Joe.
And I see like an old man.
The big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Please open his mouth.
Old man Joe, what you gonna tell me? Old man Joe, what you gonna say?
That's probably enough. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with a little bit of hymn hype. Our helper, he amidst the flood of mortal ills prevailing. Our hymn today is Silent Night. I'm going to go ahead and read this document taken entirely from 101 Hymn Stories by Kenneth Osbeck about the circumstances that brought about the hymn Silent Night. And then we will listen to an old performance isn't the right word. We were singing it in home group 4 years ago, so you might hear people singing along, and it's not perfect, but there's something. The reason I'm playing it is I want you to hear a part of what gets highlighted in the info. So this is about Silent Night and who wrote it. Joseph Mohr. Joseph Mohr was born in the lovely city of Salzburg, Austria in 1792. As a boy, he was an active chorister in the cathedral at Salzburg. In 1815, Mohr was ordained to the priesthood of the Roman Catholic Church. Following his ordination, he served various parishes in the Salzburg area. It was while serving as an assistant priest in 1818 at the newly erected Church of St. Nicholas in Obernof, in the region of Tyrol, high in the beautiful Alps, that Mohr wrote the text for this favorite of all Christmas carols. Father Mohr and Franz Gruber, the village schoolmaster and church organist, had often talked about the fact that the perfect Christmas hymn had never been written. With this goal in mind, and after he had received word that his own church organ would not function, Father Mohr decided that he must write his own Christmas music immediately, in order to have music for the special Christmas Eve Mass and to avoid disappointing his faithful congregation. Upon completing the text, he took his words to Franz Gruber, who exclaimed when he saw them, "Friend Mohr, you have found it, the right song, God be praised." Soon Gruber completed his task of writing the right tune for the new text. His simple but beautiful music blended perfectly with the spirit of Mohr's words. The hymn was completed in time for the Christmas Eve Mass, and Father Mohr and Franz Gruber sang their hymn together to the accompaniment of Gruber's guitar. The hymn made a deep impact upon the parishioners, even as it has on succeeding generations. The passing of time seems only to add to its appeal. Neither Mohr nor Gruber intended that the hymn would be used outside of their little mountain village area. However, it is reported that within a few days after the Christmas Eve Mass, the organ repairman, Karl Marachin of Zillerthal, I can't pronounce all these old German words, sorry, a well-known organ builder of that area, came to the church and obtained a copy of the new hymn. Through his influence, the carol spread throughout the entire Tyrol region, where it became popular as a Tyrolean folk song. Soon, various performing groups, such as the well-known Strasser Children's Quartet, began using the hymn in concert throughout Austria and Germany. In 1838, it first appeared in a German hymnal, where it was titled A Hymn of Unknown Origin. It was first heard in the United States in 1839 when a family of Tyrolean singers, the Rainers, used the music during their concert tour. Soon, it was translated into English, as well as into other languages. At least 8 different English translations are known today. The carol is presently sung in all of the major languages of the world and is a universal favorite wherever songs of the Christmas message are sung. The translation by John F. Young is the version most widely used in this country. Young was born at Pittston, Hennebeck County, Maryland, on October 30th, 1820. He was ordained to the Episcopal Church and served a number of years as a bishop in the state of Florida. Throughout his church ministry, he had a keen interest in sacred music. This translation of Mohr's German text first appeared in 1863 in Clark Hollister's Service and Tune book. So the reason I want to play you this recording from back when I sang it in home group is so you can hear the guitar. It really was a song intended for guitar. And hopefully you'll hear some bits of that as we listen. Here's Silent Night. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. Feel free to send me questions, comments, insults, suggestions, hymns you'd like to hear, theological topics you'd like covered. I would enjoy all of them. Hopefully I will be able to talk to you all again before the new year, but if I don't, Happy New Year. Please write the show. Send all of your stuffs to Stephen@reasonedrefrain.com. That's Stephen, STEPHEN, @reasonedrefrain, ReasonedRefrain.com. Colossians 3:16, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. You'll hear me next time unless Jesus comes back before then. Reasoned Refrain is produced by Stephen Curto. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are my own and should not be taken as reflective of any institution with which I am associated. Theme song written and performed by J.J. Anderson and Stephen Curto, mastered by J.J. Anderson. Reasoned Refrain is the property of Stephen Curto, all rights reserved.